Hello everyone, I'm Shakira Shute, an award-winning actress and the narrator for the Kill or Cure audiobook series. I'm here to introduce this exclusive extract, narrated by me, from Kill or Cure Bloodlust. In this scene, Alex and her makeshift family have approached the ruthless gang leader, Tyrone, hoping to broker a deal into Alhena. With limited options, Alex has no choice but to risk everything and play a dangerous game. A game she could live to regret. Will she make it out alive? Keep watching to find out. A deal with the devil. Beads of sweat form on the nape of my neck as Tyrone smugly takes a seat at the head of the table, reveling in the tension. I look at the others to gauge their reactions, and they all appear to be mirroring my horror. My mind whirls with a million questions, making me feel paralyzed with panic. What if he knows about Tommy? What if he's working with Cinta? As I bite the inside of my cheek and begin to panic that we've made a terrible mistake, I suddenly notice his expression. He's staring at me expectantly with his dark brown eyes, like he's testing my resolve. I quickly realize that he's trying to gain the upper hand, and he wants me to feel vulnerable. I guess for a man like Tyrone, life is a game, and negotiations are all about moves and countermoves. Like a cat playing with a defenseless mouse, Tyrone is poking me, and he wants me to react. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, my mind flits back to Colt's stories of Tyrone and the people of Halo. They hate the rich folk from the old world, so even though he knows my name somehow, I don't think he's working with Cinta. Besides, I think it's safe to assume that Cinta wants Tommy all to himself. Ignoring the worried stares from the rest of the group, I take a seat at the table and twiddle the cool glass between my fingers in a vague attempt at exuding confidence. Clearly my reputation precedes me, because you already know who I am. So on that note, I think we should just cut the crap and get to the point. We all need to get into Alhena, and I hear that you're the man to make that happen. He laughs throatily and wags his finger at me.
I like you, Alex. You got balls.
He leans back in his seat and places his feet on the table, cradling his glass in his hands.
In these parts, your group is famous. The teenagers who destroyed a military camp filled with soldiers. That's pretty darn impressive if I say so myself. You're like a girl after my own heart.
I grit my teeth and clutch onto the shot glass tightly as he continues.
Now, your pretty little head is probably trying to figure out how I know all this. Well, the answer is, your faces are plastered over every goddamn city across the country. And you'll be pleased to know there's a healthy bounty on all your heads. But I'm guessing you didn't know that. Otherwise you might not have come to me so eagerly.
He casually lets that sink in as he takes a long sip of whiskey.
So, in answer to your question, I want double the bounty, which, by my calculations, is roughly 500,000 credits, if we round things up a little. Otherwise, why wouldn't I just hand over your sorry asses and collect my winnings?
I decide to play him at his own game and lean on the table to close the distance. Because, Tyrone, that would make you a rat. And the people who are searching for us are the kind of people that you absolutely despise. So if you want to just hand us over and collect your winnings, be my guest. But how do you think that would make you look to your loyal followers? Let's face it, you don't need the cash. It's more about reputation, right? He considers my words carefully, and, if anything, he seems to be mildly impressed by my astuteness. Draining the last of his whiskey, he swirls it in his mouth and then smirks, flashing his solid gold tooth.
So, if I don't need cash, what do I need?
An idea begins to formulate in the back of my mind, but I know that it's a huge risk. In this world, what do you offer a man who has everything? For Tyrone, there's only one thing that springs to mind, and it'll be a miracle if we can pull it off. The lie starts to form at my lips, almost as though it's the actual truth. There's another reason that we're wanted fugitives. We stole a bunch of weapons that could bring down that wall, ones that are so advanced there's only a few in existence. Just imagine what a man like you could achieve with those weapons. Tyrone hardens his stare and studies each of us in turn, clearly trying to read our expressions. Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I deliver the deal. So how about this? We give you half of the weapons we stole, if you get us across the border. He silently fills up his empty whiskey glass, while pensively considering the deal. After a few moments, he tuts under his breath and reaches inside his jacket.
Now, that is disappointing.
He whips out a hand cannon the size of my forearm and firmly presses the barrel into the middle of my forehead.
There's one thing you should know about me, Alex. Never take me for a fool.
Colt and Will instantly reach for the guns in their belts, and Winter jumps up from her seat with her whip in hand. At her touch, it instantly flashes neon blue, which subtly draws his attention. A group of guards race back into the room with an array of weapons and swarm around the table in force. I continue to maintain eye contact with Tyrone, but from the sound of the footsteps surrounding us, I know that we are well and truly outnumbered. Adrenaline burns through my veins as I fearlessly press my forehead against the cold, hard gun and point at Winter's whip. Have you ever seen one of those before? That is a military prototype, exceptionally rare and very powerful. That is just one example of the many weapons that we stole. A manic grin stretches across his face and he nods his head hungrily.
Huh. Is that so? Well, my guy said that your group showed up nearly empty-handed. So where are they, Alex?
He growls. I finally take my gaze away from Tyrone and look at the guards surrounding us. Come on, Tyrone. We're not that stupid. We have them stored in a safe place out in the wastelands. What would happen if we showed up with a trunk full of weapons that could bring down that wall? I think it's safe to say that you would just take them from us, wouldn't you? He pauses momentarily to assess his options, and his gaze darts over to the whip once more. Thankfully, his shoulders relax, and he finally appears to believe the lie.
Well done, sweetheart. You finally have my attention.
As a result, he clicks the safety back on his gun and places it on the table in front of him, a gentle reminder that if I cross him again, he won't hesitate to blow my head off. Will and Colt reluctantly lower their weapons too, quickly followed by Winter. He casually picks up his glass and takes a large mouthful, as though nothing had just happened.
Okay. If you give me all of the weapons, including the whip, which I will accept as a down payment, you can deliver the rest when I take you to the border.
I don't even have to look at Winter to know how she feels. No, you can't have the whip, I say firmly. You can have everything else but that. He quickly gulps the clear liquid and studies the remaining alcohol coated on the inside of the glass.
That's the deal. Take it or leave it,
he says bluntly. I finally turn my attention to Winter, who is understandably tense at the prospect of losing her beloved whip. She has sacrificed everything to help us, a group of people that she barely knows, in the vague hope that one of them may be the cure. If it wasn't for her, we all would have died in the lab in Panama, and there's certainly no way we could have escaped without her. How can I ask her to give up her only possession in life, to buy us a ticket into Alhena? I look to the others for support, but I'm met by icy glares from Colt. I guess he thinks that lying was a bad idea, whereas Will, on the other hand, looks quietly impressed. But even with his support, I can't help but feel defeated. Our chances of gaining access are slowly slipping through our fingers, and there's nothing I can do about it. As Tyrone eagerly observes my deflated expression, his eyes suddenly turn cold and calculating. Leaning back in his seat again, he turns his gaze to Darlene, standing in the corner of the room with an air of casual smugness.
Today really is your lucky day, because I'm feeling especially generous. So this is my last and final offer.
I can almost see the manipulative cogs whirling in his brain as he fiddles with the glass tumbler in his fingers.
2 of your best fighters against 2 of my best fighters in the ring downstairs. If my guys win the fight, we get all the weapons, including the whip. In the unlikely event that you win, not only will I give you access to Alhena, but I'll also let you keep the whip. But I still want those other weapons. I'm not letting you off that easily.
With a sly smile quivering at the corner of his mouth, he leans back in his seat.
So, the question is, sweetheart, how important is that whip to you? Are you willing to take a beating to keep it? Otherwise, I'll take all the weapons up front and you can walk across the border unharmed.
I glance in Winter's direction to gauge her reaction, but I can already anticipate it without even looking. As expected, her electric blue eyes glisten with confidence, and she subtly nods her head in approval of the new deal on offer. She looks to Tyrone and places her palm firmly on the table, as if to assert her position. Avoiding eye contact with Will and Colt, I exhale quietly and meet Tyrone's gaze. Well, my friend here has a special relationship with that whip, so I don't want to give it up. And besides, I glance over at Tyrone's men with an arrogant smile for his benefit. Your fighters are the only ones that will be taking a beating. He roars with laughter again at my cockiness.
Well, sweetheart, we will see about that. So is this a done deal?
With limited guns, credits, and influence, I feel like this is the best deal that we could get. Whatever happens, we have to keep that whip at all costs. If we win the fight, we will undoubtedly need it in Alhena, and if we lose the fight, we will need it to escape Tyrone, especially when he learns that there are no weapons. At that thought, my mouth becomes dry and my stomach rolls with nausea. I hope that I don't live to regret this. You've got yourself a deal, I say, despite my crumbling nerves. His eyes darken threateningly as he leans forwards and shakes my hand firmly.
Consider it done.
As I attempt to pull my hand away, he nearly crushes my fingers.
One final thing. I get to choose the fighters on both sides, and if you don't deliver the weapons after the fight, I'm gonna mount your head like a trophy kill and hang it on this wall with my other furry friends.
Both Will and Colt stare at me slack-jawed in horror at the prospect of Tyrone mounting my head next to a long row of stuffed animals. As I stiffly kick out my chair to stand, a sinister smile stretches across his face.
It's great doing business with you, Alex. Now, you better prepare yourself because you and your feisty albino friend here are heading into the ring this weekend.
A part of me anticipated that he would personally make me fight, but I'm glad that he picked Winter as my teammate. If he knew how dangerous she could be, I doubt he would have picked her so eagerly. As the gravity of the situation starts to sink in, and my skin prickles with doubt, A terrifying thought enters my mind. Have I just made a deal with the devil? Download your copy of this thrilling dystopian YA series from Audible and iTunes today.